I finished this about 10 minutes ago outside, so it should be okay. It's called Turing Test for Schools, to Insanity and Back in 6 Steps. Just to fill you in, my dissertation was based around Alan Turing and his centenary, and the idea was to get kids involved in programming. But we'll see anyway. Just to let you know who I am. I'm Mathew Keegan. As of last week, I am now Archbishop, so you can call me Your Excellency. Oh yeah, I also run this new company called Jolly Good Websites, and the design and the whole CSS thing will come into play a little bit later on the slide. So you start going to university, you do year 1, you do year 2, some of you might do an industrial year, and then bang, suddenly Neil Taylor's coming on your ass telling you that dissertations need to be handed in. So, just like the Velociraptor, I sat down and thought, well, what should I do my dissertation on? And, like all good ideas, it started in the pub, where I bumped into Dr. Hannah D. And I said, Hannah, I just don't know what I'm going to do for my dissertation. And Hannah says, well, what do you like doing? I said, well, I quite like kids' educational software. I said, well, I hate the way it's been watered down for the audience. So anyway, the conversation went on, and we ended up in Rummers, and then Hannah said, hey, have you ever heard of this guy, Alan Turing? I said, well, yeah, a little bit. Why? She said, well, you know, there's some big companies like Google, Microsoft, Apple, Facebook, who all owe something to Alan Turing and some of the research he did. Hey, let's face it, some people think he stopped Hitler about 3 years early because of the research he was doing. So I sat down and I had another think. I thought, well, how can I combine Alan Turing and what I enjoy doing, which is educational software, and come up with something new? And that's when I came up with this piece of software called Turing, which is what my dissertation was based on, and Hannah very kindly said she'd be my evil supervisor for. So the first thing you have to do is design. Now I wanted to work with kids, which is not easy in this day and age. There's a whole pile of paperwork you have to go through before you did it. I thought, I don't want to do that. It's easy. I'll just think like I'm a kid again. Yes, that is me. It's wonderful. That's what my style came from. So I went away, and being a web designer, this is where it comes back in, I like really nice, pretty things. So I went away and designed the prettiest user interface that I thought kids would love. And it did all sorts of, yes, there we go. And it does all sorts of fancy things, and then once I designed it in Photoshop, I went away and built a demo. And I went and showed Hannah this demo, and she went, wait! Let's go and test this first. So I found some kids who were relatives and various other things, and I showed it them, and they went, what on earth is that? And I thought, what have I done wrong? I thought this is exactly what kids want, you know. Kids were amusing like myself. So, but what I suddenly realised was kids were less, Mike's really confused, kids are less like this these days, and kids are more like this. Kids are getting a far earlier start on computers than we were. This was my first phone when I went to school, age 13, and this is what kids these days are being exposed to. Kids also now have access to things like broadband, and now even fibre optic broadband that's hundreds of times faster than when we were kids. So, I went and showed Hannah my demonstration, and Hannah said, Mathew, stop focusing on shiny things! Which I did. She said, go and test it with some users. So, I went and found some users. So I found a whole group of kids, and I said, can you try my software out? And then something really confusing happened, because it didn't go well at first. A few bits broke, and my idea for a really cool interface was just sort of looking really not what was needed. So I went and talked with my sensei in life, which is our house rabbit back home on Skype. So I spoke with him, and he said, no, you're doing it all wrong. Kids don't want this dumbed down interface. This is exactly what you're trying to not do. Kids have been used to the internet for years now, and things have changed from this day and age. So I thought, oh God, right. I went and sat down again, and I started coding. And Hannah, my evil supervisor, said, look, we've got this school, 30 kids a week. Can you get something working? And I went, I'll be damned if I'll try.
Is that alcohol-fueled programming?
Yes, it is. So I went away, and obviously I only had a week, so I did something really basic with potato counts. Stripped all the fancy stuff out and did what these kids seem to be used to, which is links and buttons and stuff like that. And the kids seemed pretty pleased, and that made me pretty pleased. And that's when the first rule, which is what this is about, the first life rule came about, which is put your ego aside and design for your users. That was an important lesson for me, because I was designing for my own ego, thinking, I've got to make it look the best it can, and actually, it's not what they needed. And then there's the second thing, that my rule, is that fear is the greatest motivator. Anna came along and said, you have a week. And I panicked, and I made something, and it actually worked. But I don't think I would have been at the stage I was in my disc that quickly had it not been for that. So obviously I had to throw a whole load of stuff away, and that's where Rule 3 came into play, and this is something you might have seen before. There's a great book called The Mythical Man Month by Fred Brooks, and one of the statement teammates is plan to throw one away, you will anyhow. And I suddenly learned that actually I could afford to throw it away, it wasn't that big of a deal. So I then left all that aside and I went along and started making the user interface. And I did this and I showed it to Hannah. And Hannah said, Matthew, you've done it again, you've designed shiny things because you're a web designer. This upset me a bit, so I went away and sulked for a couple of weeks. And then I started to realise that actually no, I was wrong and maybe my evil supervisor was right, which is where Rule 4 comes into play. Never be afraid of criticism because it shows that someone cares.
Not just or evil.
Or you're evil. One or two. And this is when I realised that actually people give you this criticism because they want you to succeed. The next biggest advantage to this project was Technocamp's got on board and they said, hey, we've got some kids that you can come and use your software with, why don't you go and try it with them? So I did, I went and tried it, it worked really well. I put some text-to-speech software in it, which the kids absolutely loved. And I was just amazed, seriously amazed by what these 11 and 12, in some cases 9 and 10-year-olds could do. They were so quick and it was just so easy for them to actually use my application because they've got so many years more experience and stuff. And that's where my next book came in. Assume nothing, absolutely nothing. Don't go into it with any preconceptions. This has led on to something quite interesting. Tomorrow I'm going to be taking my software down to the bandstand and actually going to go and get some more feedback from the kids again with the new version that I've written since my dissertation. And it looks like my software won't be going in the shoebox. It might actually be going to be used by some kids in honour of Alan Turing. And that's where my final sort of rule came in, which is always give your best because it will reward you in ways you never thought. And it has. I didn't think this. I thought this would go in a box and that would be the end of it. And then I kind of added this one on a bit later on, Rule 6A, which is just to keep an open mind. You've got some great lecturers at this university. Your friends are probably going to be one of the greatest sources of support during your dissertation, and you've got great people like demonstrators and advisors who are always going to be willing to help you. So that's my experience in my dissertation, and I wish anyone doing theirs